Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and a very happy holidays to everybody. Today is like the first day where I'm really feeling in the Christmas spirit because it is currently snowing outside, which you cannot see, but it's a great view from my office window. I have my tree set up and I have finally finished my first semester of CRNA school. So I felt like with all of that combined, it's time to make another video. The hot topic that I keep getting emails and questions about is the interview process. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the interview process and how to prepare. So before we dive into what steps to take once you find out you got an interview, I just wanted to keep the Christmas spirit going and let you guys know that me, and along with another good friend, coworker, and student nurse anesthetist, have compiled a guide/PDF of all possible clinical and behavioral questions you could be asked on an interview. And this is from both of our personal experiences along with our research that we have done on interview questions. And in addition to questions that they will ask you on an interview, we also have a little section of questions that you can ask the faculty or the panel on your interview. From a personal standpoint, I believe that it is an extremely well-rounded packet, and if you study this packet, I think you should be golden for any interview. There's two forms. There's an interview packet with just questions, and then there'll be another form with actual tips on how to respond to the behavioral questions and answers to the clinical questions. So that packet saves you some extra time of searching how to answer a question. I will be selling it on Etsy. I will leave the link in the description. And since you are watching this video, I thank you. Please give me a like and a subscribe. And I will also leave a 20% discount code in the description below for anybody that wants to buy any one of those packets. Now let's get into the 5 steps that you should take once you find out you got an interview. All right, so step 1 would be to search your school. You just found out you got an interview at school X, whatever, X university, and you don't know what kind of interview they give. Now, let me tell you something. The internet is a beautiful, wonderful tool for absolutely anything that you need to do in life. Go on Google, search X University CRNA school interview. And I can guarantee you that there will be some all nurses forum, maybe outdated, but also could be recent, that is talking about people who have got accepted to interviews, who already went on their interviews, what kind of questions they asked, and you can gather so much information just from that little search. Another way to search is ask around. You have friends, you're in an ICU, so there's gotta be some people that have gone to CRNA school and may have even interviewed at a school that you are going to be interviewing at. So don't be afraid to ask people or friends of friends or reach out and just say, hey, I see that you go to school X, or I see someone told me that you had an interview with school X. Can you tell me a little bit about that interview process? Because the more people you ask and the more information you gather, the better you'll be able to hone in and focus on the specific questions that they're going to ask. The main purpose of searching your school, you want to gather these few points. What type of questions do they ask? Either behavioral or experience mainly, or solely clinical, or a combination of both. You want to know what type of interview it is. Is it a one-on-one interview? Is it a panel interview, which would be like 6 people on the anesthesia faculty just asking you questions? Is it a group interview where there's 4 or 5 candidates that are interviewing all at once in front of 1+ faculty? Or is it a series of interviews where you interview with one faculty member, then interview with another, but in separate occasions? And you also want to find out if they do exams. Some interviews make you take a test. It's sort of like a test to gauge where you're at. They'll ask math questions, they'll ask drug questions. It all depends on the school if they even test you. And I'm not really sure how weighted that is in terms of your overall application and if it even matters. So that's something you really have to ask, because some schools indeed do that. And you wouldn't want to be surprised going in on interview day and they slap an exam in front of your face. That is the worst thing that could happen. Well, actually worse things could happen, but that would be pretty bad. Okay, so you searched your school, you asked everyone you knew, and you got an idea of what kind of interview it is and what to expect. So the next thing you do is find every single type of question that you can on the internet that pertains to the style of the interview. And now is where I will shamelessly plug that PDF guide that my friend Allie and I worked so hard on compiling together our experiences to make one well-rounded study guide of interview questions that are both behavioral and clinical that will prepare you for your interviews. If you choose not to do our guide or use our guide, that is totally fine. Just keep searching. Just Google anesthesia school questions, clinical anesthesia school questions, behavioral anesthesia school questions. Everything will come up and a lot of helpful tools will come up. But I'm telling you right now, our packet is the best bang for your buck. Everything else costs a lot more just to get a list of questions, and our questions are definitely up to par with everything else I've seen on the internet, so don't you worry. So in addition to using our guide or any other guide, you need to look up your school. So if you have multiple interviews with different schools, you're gonna have to look up every single school, and you need to find the mission statement and the values the school has as a whole, and how you can add to the school and how your values fit their values and their mission statement. And you also want to go to the CRNA portion or program section of the website to look at that inside and out. Look at their program layout. So what classes you're going to be taking, what semester, and how long the program is going to be. And when do you start your clinicals? Is it a front-loaded or an integrated program? Where are the clinical sites? All of those things, just so that you are well-rounded and knowledgeable about what the school has to offer, and you could speak to their pros. Obviously, there's going to be some cons about every single school, but you don't want to talk about the cons at an interview. If they do have a con, say their attrition rate is low, that's a question that you can ask the faculty. But I'm not going to get too much into questions because you should look at my guide instead. And my last tip in regards to searching for that school specific stuff, not only look at the CRNA program part of the website, but look at the whole entire website. You'll never know what you'll find because every school likes to prepare you for a job once you graduate. There might be sections on the website for students that currently go to that school on job prep, interview prep. And if they're advising their new graduate students to do this on an interview and prepare with these questions, they might even ask you those questions on the interview. Who knows? Just try to gather all of that information and look at their website up and down, inside out, until you're blue in the face, and you'll be ready. Okay, step 2 was super long, but now we're on to step 3. And that is to expect the best, but always prepare for the worst. So with all the information that you gathered by searching the school, getting questions, looking at the website, if you're 90% sure that they're gonna ask you only clinical questions on your interview, you should still prepare for some behavioral questions, no matter what. Because what if that school wakes up one day and they say, you know what, let's throw some behavioral in. Let's hit them with a curveball. Who knows? So you also want to practice the other side. If I'm going on an interview that I know is more behavioral, I still throw in some questions about ventilator settings, about impellers, intra-aortic balloon pumps, and we have the CVVH machine for dialysis, all that stuff. So just like freshen up on the machinery that you use and the drugs that you use, because it's always good to be prepared. You don't want to focus so much on one thing and then they hit you with something that you're not prepared for. You don't do well. So even though you know what the school's gonna ask you, just always be prepared for the other extreme, just in case. Now, step 4 is practice, 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 and practice. Practice in the mirror. Practice speaking in front of your family. Ask your family to ask you these questions. And ask for feedback because you don't want them to just ask you the questions and not tell you what you're doing wrong. I'm lucky enough to have a very straightforward, honest family, and I was asking my uncle to ask me these questions, and he was saying that my responses were good, that I had the right intention and I answered the question correctly, but my delivery was not good at all. I used too many ands, buts, and when you do that, you just sound less professional and it doesn't look as good to the interview committee. So instead of saying, for example, I went into my patient's room and I saw that his blood pressure was tanking and he was like crashing. So I went to call the doctor and no, that sounds horrible. As opposed to, I heard the monitors going off, so I ran into my patient's room. Pause. I saw his blood pressure was dropping and he started to crash. So then I went and called the doctor immediately. Sounds so much better. Let those pauses be. Be okay with pausing while speaking because it sounds so much better than, Get it? Got it? Good. All right, so now we're on the very last step. You got your interview letter. You searched everything you can about the school's type of interview. Then you looked up all the questions you could. You practice. And now you're here on interview day. So just a few tips for your interview day itself. You want to make sure that you arrive 10 minutes early. Don't be 30 minutes early, 40 minutes early. That's a little ridiculous. They take note. You want to be early enough where you're not rushing and it looks good that you're a timely person, but you don't want to be so early where it's like obsessive. It just doesn't look good. 10 minutes, good. 5 minutes, So 10 minutes early, dress to impress, okay? You'd rather be overdressed than underdressed. But when I say dressed, I mean professional business clothing. For my girls out there, no crazy nail polish, no crazy perfume for men as well, and no crazy makeup. Very natural, minimal makeup. You don't want to see a clown walking in with black fingernails and a perfume that gives them a headache, okay? Oh, make sure you eat breakfast the day of. That's another thing, because you don't know how long you're gonna be there. If you got a last name that starts with Z and they're going in alphabetical order and there's like 40 of you, you're gonna be there really long. And the last thing you wanna do is sit there with your stomach growling and then you can't think straight because all you can think about is everyone hearing your stomach. So eat, please. And that is really it. And these are my 5 tips for interview prep and what to do on interview day. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I really hope that you enjoy and utilize the guide that Allie and I created for you, because at the end of the day, I do this all for everybody, just to spread knowledge and help people get into CRNA school, because it can be scary and people can second guess themselves, but I could promise you that at the end of the day, if you put the work in, anybody can do it. All right, guys, happy holidays, and I will see you soon.